Good day everyone. So how do we prevent leaking in Genshin Impact? And I know if I make this video it will probably not be a popular video, but hey, I think it's worth a sort of a crack at it. So but you need to really understand like how the whole leaking thing works in Genshin Impact, and I'll just give you a quick rundown and then exactly what the sort of preferred solution might be. So basically Genshin Impact launches a beta, a lot of people sort of do apply for it, and then what happens is they get to experience the next version's content before the rest of us can do so, and the way in which they do it is by downloading the beta client from Hoyoverse themselves. Now, you can obviously see the big problem here. If the game client is already available, it takes a couple of seconds, or like, well, not seconds really, but like a couple of hours and so on, for the private server community in Genshin Impact to sort of take this client, and then by using a re-implementation of the Hoyoverse servers, they can essentially start playing Genshin 3.0 without even needing to be connected to a Hoyoverse server. So there's no way that you can actually sort of prevent any of this. There's no way Hoyoverse can find these people, because the game client itself is communicating most likely to a server that's on the person's own PC that's not even connected to the internet. So there's really no way for Hoyoverse to know. And I've even seen content where people have already started playing 3.0 and imported like different models and so on. So yeah, it is, look, leaking has come like a very, very far way. You don't need some sort of special uncle, you don't need to wait for Honey Hunter anymore. You can even sort of like play right now with a C6 Tainari if you really, really want to. And as I sort of explained in my previous video, this might, for the average person, might not be the best of ideas, because people that do generally provide the software and so on for these services might have some ill intentions and so on. And there have been cases, many cases, where people's stuff have been hacked, and not just their Genshin accounts, but their normal, ordinary accounts, because you can do credential scraping and all sorts of things if someone else literally provides software that runs on your machine, and your avian stuff might not be able to detect it. So private servers, kind of a big yikes, but they do contribute to quite a bit of the leaks and so on. So how do you prevent all of this? Well, obviously Hoyoverse needs to go out of their way to ensure that the game client does not reach these people. And how do you do that? Well, it's kind of simple. You do what the guys at NVIDIA does. You allow a sort of like Gamestream service to run. In other words, the client never gets distributed to you on your PC. You basically have to log in somewhere, or you have to download some sort of Hoyoverse software, and then basically the game is being played on Hoyoverse servers, and you in essence only stream like the version as a beta player. In other words, you just need to be within, let's say, 40 milliseconds of a Hoyoverse data center, and then once you meet that requirement, then you as a beta player, well, you can just sort of then stream the game, and all of the hardware, all of the like the play experience and so on is running on Hoyoverse's like own servers and so forth. So you only really stream stuff. And what can really be cool now is Hoyoverse can obviously like put in some watermarks and all sorts of cool things on the footage, so even if someone leaks it, it'll be a lot easier to sort of find out. They could do some other more creative things. So take like Genshin Impact 2.8 as an example. One of the things that I would do if I were Hoyoverse is I'd segment my beta players or recruiters, and basically what I'd do is I'd ensure that a certain group only plays the Kazuha domain. They can't do anything else except play that domain, and another group can only play Mona's domain, so that when there is leaking of content and so on, it is a lot easier to pinpoint where it could have come from. So by segmenting like sort of your beta experience, Hoyoverse can really sort of clamp down on these sorts of things. So that would be sort of like my suggestions: having a cloud gaming service that runs, and then obviously the beta recruiters or players and so on can only use that. So it'll really go like a very, very long way, because in this case, the people that sort of play on private servers, well, they can't do anything if there's no client to download this. If there is no 3.0 that's on their machines, literally you're taking all the ammunition, all of the things that like makes it fun for these people to play, you're sort of taking it out of their hands. You're preventing a lot more of the leaks and so on. But to be honest, this is not a silver bullet. It's not going to prevent all of the leaks. There will always be some uncle on Twitter that sort of showcases a new character, and then the Genshin fandom's going to be so unhappy because it's not what they thought it was, and you know how the sort of Genshin community goes. Yeah, at the end of the day, and also like having like an online gaming or like a streaming service for beta testings is also not going to do anything about current private service or even like private service after the sort of 3.0 or whatever future game client's been released. You're not going to take any of that away. So there's a lot of things it's not going to solve, and it might even create some problems. So for instance, you don't have enough device coverage when it comes to your beta testing, so some people might have issues on their phones that they might not be able to play the game. So yeah, it is definitely not the best of solutions, but it's definitely a very strong solution when it comes to tackling leaking in and of itself, because if there's no game client for these guys to download, well, then they can't really do anything. So yeah, that is what I've got to say, guys. Let me know what you guys sort of think and so on. There is a skeptical part of me that almost says, well, perhaps Hoyoverse is doing these things like deliberately, because if you've got private service, if you do allow for leaks, you know, it does generate a bit of hype and so on. It does keep the interest in the game there, and ultimately Hoyoverse has demonstrated that their long-term plan is to take successful IPs, take all the money that they've created, abandon sort of the IPs or put them in a rough like maintenance mode, and then just sort of start making new games, capturing a new audience, and then just sort of rinse and repeat. So perhaps they really don't care about Genshin Impact that much. It would be a shame, but I mean, of course, this is Hoyoverse's IP to manage. So who are we to give them suggestions? They are the big bad bosses. It's not like they're going to ever listen to us in any case. But yeah, that's what I've got to say. Thanks for watching. Cheers.